Hey everyone, we are getting a lot of Marvel property stuff this year. We got Spider-Man coming up, the Eternals coming up, we had What If, Loki, Hawkeye, and so many more things. So now with this, we have yet another property, the Andy Serkis directed Venom 2, Let There Be Carnage. So this film is the sequel to the 2018 financial hit, Venom, starring Tom Hardy. He returns in this one, as well as Michelle Williams and Woody Harrelson in the first movie's end credit scene, with an arguably better wig this time around. The whole premise for this one is Venom and Eddie Brock are trying to live together in harmony without any type of killing involved, which seems kind of boring to me. Eddie Brock's name is starting to return to the spotlight because he's reporting on the serial killer Cletus Cassidy. And as shown in the trailers, there's an encounter between Eddie Brock and Cletus Cassidy where he bites his finger and ends up getting a little bit of that Venom blood, you know? That eventually leads to him turning into his own symbiote, Carnage. And the two are sort of meant to face off against each other now. Initial thoughts of this movie, guys, it wasn't for me. And I know some of the people who have me on social media have seen me trash this movie before it came out because of the non-R rating and the runtime being very short. And hey, sometimes with shows and properties that I don't think look good, like WandaVision didn't look that great to me, but I ended up liking it. So I do have the ability to have a change of heart. And some of the earlier stuff in this film led me to believe that I may have misjudged it. You had Tom Hardy returning as Eddie Brock, and he still killed it in this movie, just like he did in the first one. The runtime issue I had wasn't actually the issue. Throughout this entire film, it didn't feel slow at all, like the pacing was great. And by today's standards of comic book film, you just have to have some huge CGI battle at the end of the film, right? Carnage is red, Venom is black. They're both aliens, and you'd think that would get messy and just all muddled, right? Surprisingly, no. Like, I could see what Venom was doing, I could see what Carnage was doing, and all their different powers looked really unique. The fight reminded me of something out of a Spider-Man PS1 or PS2 game. I was digging that part. And unfortunately, that's where the positives stop for me. In the least spoilers fashion possible, you have Cletus Cassidy, serial killer, Manson-level killer, if you will, plastered all over the TV screens. He's the talk of the town for the past few years. He breaks out of jail, as shown in the trailers. And he's just casually walking down the street. He's got like a new haircut, but he's still recognizable. No one knows who this dude is. Like, seriously? If someone committed a ridiculous amount of crimes, are you telling me in the busy streets of San Francisco, you wouldn't recognize that person you've seen all over the news in the past few years? Cletus Cassidy's origin story. So they totally screwed that up. I mean, you have the opportunity to go really dark and brutal with this. I know it's not an R rating, but you could have done something. But no, they kind of glamorized his origin story in this weird cartoony Tim Burton-esque flashback sequence. Just the stakes weren't there. He didn't feel menacing. Woody Harrelson, I mean, he did an okay job. He acted Woody Harrelson-ish. Like, I mean, you've seen him be a shyster in a million other movies before. The level of comedy in this movie was ridiculous too. Like, I get the whole buddy dynamic between Venom and Eddie. Like, it was entertaining in the first movie, but in this one, they just like went times 4 with that to the point where like I didn't feel any level of seriousness in this movie at all. The first one did have some sort of balance for me at least. And finally, the big thing that I was worried about with this film, the R rating. Where do we begin? Venom, this huge hulking symbiotic alien, is basically doing the Twilight thing in this movie. Remember when they're just like eating deer and shit like that to survive because they don't want to seem brutal? Venom's just eating chickens and chocolate. What? And Carnage's violence, I mean, his whole motivation is to break his girlfriend Shriek out of jail, and they haven't seen each other in years. Like, that dynamic was okay. It's nothing to write home about. But whenever he leaves a body behind, that's just it. It's behind him. Like, it's out of focus. It's off screen. He's biting guys' heads off, and you don't even see it. He goes like, and the camera cuts. I'm like, ugh. Avengers Endgame. Thor cuts off Thanos' head, and it just rolls. Like, you could have at least done it in that fashion. If you're going for this more goofy, comedic movie, you could at least seen a head flop off or something. I don't know. It's like whatever they were going for with this. I mean, maybe some people out there will see this movie as so bad it's good. But that's like, to me, those are the movies that are like The Room, Psycho Goreman. I didn't have a good time with this. Who knows, it might change my mind if they put this out on Blu-ray and 4K and there's an extended cut or an unrated cut. I mean, they changed my mind with Zack Snyder's Justice League and Batman vs. Superman Dawn of Justice and other films. I definitely wouldn't recommend this. If I were doing my old style of reviews, I would rate it like a 3 out of 10. And I think this movie is so bad that people are actually going to be talking about the end credit sequence of this film, mid-credit if you will, more than the actual movie itself. So yeah guys, that's my rant, my review for this film. Once again, thanks for watching.